Genetic engineering, a widely discussed topic and heavily debated subject. Genetic engineering is defined as the act of adding new or taking away genes from an organism via biotechnology. There's been much discussion regarding genetic engineering the last 2 decades, with advances in technology and answers to old problems having brought forth new issues for this generation of science, especially in the development of crops and similar organisms. To better understand how genetic engineering works, it is essential to know some biology. Genes control how the body is formed and shaped. They dictate where new cells will grow, regenerate, and where they will stop. Genes are found in all living creatures' DNA. Their DNA is held within the cells that make up their body. Using these genes in the cells of organisms that do not contain them naturally will alter what the organism is capable of doing. Genetic engineering plants start with the act of extracting a desired strand of DNA. This is followed by removal of the desired genes from that strand of DNA. Upon the completion of this, the gene sequence is copied thousands of times. The next stop for the scientist is to design a strand of DNA that they can replace a section of with this newly copied gene. After this is completed, plant tissue culture is grown by the thousands, to which each cell the new strand of DNA is added. These new cells are allowed to grow into plants, and those plants will produce seeds. These new seeds will contain the DNA strand that was added by the scientists and grow into genetically modified plants. This is not the final step, however. This step involves breeding these plants with the unmodified version of the plant. They do this many times, finally resulting in a stable plant that can pass on the desired traits to their offspring. The benefit of using genetic engineering is the ability to give plants, animals, and even viruses and other small organisms useful traits that are not native to their species. For instance, using genetic engineering, scientists at the University of Washington created pollution-fighting trees. These plants were capable of using polluted water and cleaned it before it was let back into the atmosphere. However, there are some controversies surrounding genetic engineering, and not just in farming applications, but the potential for genetic engineering in humans. Many people believe that genetic engineering results in unhealthy crops that are unfit for human consumption. There have been numerous studies done on the subject, some backing this statement up and others outright contradicting it. With so many financial backers with the potential for a bias, all of these different research studies, there's nothing obvious which says which side is telling the truth. Due to these troubles, many people feel safer rooting against genetic modification because they believe that it is not worth the risk. A proven side effect of genetic modification is the potential for the new crop to have allergenic properties, with some people posing health risks. There are many groups who have their interests based with and against genetic engineering. One of these is the corporation known as Monsanto. They're the world's leader in sales of genetically engineered crops. They employ approximately 20,000 people and have an annual revenue of $12 billion. Many of their current and past employees were U.S. public officials at one time. Other organizations with interest in the field include Greenpeace, who have taken a stance against it. Another group against it is GENE, Genetic Engineering Action Network, and Syngenta, which is a Swiss biotech company that specializes in genetically modified seeds and pesticides. In 2012, a group of scientists began an experiment. The goal was to see the long-term effects of genetically modified maize when fed to rats. The project was very secretive until it was concluded, and the results published showed that many of the rats had grown tumors. However, the scientific community didn't find these findings very compelling, as the rat type used for the experiment are known to be prone to tumors, and the way the experiment was carried out was also criticized. Controversies regarding genetic engineering are not limited to those for it either. Last year, in the Philippines, a nation with many starving, a group of Filipino farmers allegedly destroyed a field of genetically engineered rice because of supposed disinformation spread by Greenpeace. The topic of genetic engineering is a very hot subject. Whether you're for it or against it, there's no denying the impact it has on society. These next few years will determine the fate of genetic engineering. We have to find out if the public will embrace it or turn it away. Hopefully, as more information about the effects of genetically modified foods is learned, the public and those in charge will be able to come to a joint decision regarding the matter. Nevertheless, the fight is not over. The first step is informing the public about what genetically modified foods are and the potential risks and benefits involved.